Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Biohacking with Brittany, the Her Stack series that I am doing. Happy July! I am recording this on July 1st, which is the start of the second half of the year. It is Canada Day, and after this, I am going to go outside and enjoy the sun and the heat, which we don't get a lot of in Canada. So, today, I am so excited to be talking to you about sleep. This is a very full episode of all of the recommendations and tips and tricks and everything that I have found that has worked for sleep. I am going to go through longevity, and how it relates to longevity. I'm going to go through lifestyle, biohacks, nutrition, supplements, peptides, all the things that can really move the needle for sleep for you, and how they actually specifically relate to women and even mothers. So, this episode, I am just happy about. It was my most voted for episode to do. And it is part of the Her Stack series. And if you're new listening, this is a series that I am doing right now that is all about creating the holistic, full 360 stack for specific health issues and conditions that women go through. So I have done things like energy and fatigue or skin. I just did a perimenopause episode. The next ones I'm going to be doing are probably, yeah, there's a few I want to do. I want to do a PCOS, which is now PMOS episode, endometriosis episode, fertility, postpartum, menopause. So all of those will be coming. And then I'll likely get into more specific things, maybe gut health, maybe detoxification. And yeah, I'm just going to kind of keep going and going because you guys love these episodes and they get the most downloaded. So I'm here to help and here to support you. Now, this episode is about sleep. Everything I say today, everything whenever you're listening to this will be in the show notes. It will be linked, everything like products or anything that I say, discounts, everything like that. And it's on my website, biohackingbrittany.com. If you are wanting to work together one-on-one, I am currently accepting clients. This is something that I just recently, very, very recently started publicly talking about, but I am helping women navigate peptides and longevity and their health. And so what this kind of looks like is you can hop on a free call with me, explain to me what exactly you're going through, what you're struggling with, and then we can book a session and I will help you understand what you should take, when you should take it, how much, dosages, where to get it from, especially for peptides, and nutrition supplements and lifestyle and biohacks added into that as the foundational layers. Very holistic, very 360 approach. And you guys love that. Like I've had so many calls since I've opened publicly for it. And so there's a real demand there for women who are looking to get answers to the health problems that they're dealing with, but don't just want to throw a random peptide or supplement at it, or don't know how to kind of integrate all the pieces together, right? So, say you do get lab work done and you don't know what to do with your results, or you do find out that maybe these certain supplements are helping, but you don't want to be on them forever. Or there's all of these very specific scenarios that I see coming up. And one of the most common ones is like women order a bunch of peptides or even a bunch of supplements, and they don't know what to do with them. Like they arrive and they feel overwhelmed. They don't know how to reconstitute them, or they don't know what order to take them in. And so part of what we will do together is we sequence them, how much, how long you should take them for, everything like that. So if you're interested in having a free call with me, I would love that. You can book directly on my website right now. And it's usually about 30 minutes and we do a lot. I get a very good picture of what is going on with you. So if that's something you want to do, let me know and I would be happy to chat and see how it goes. In other news, you can join my community. I have women posting in there all the time about their stacks and their questions. That's very much geared towards women. If you are into peptides and you're taking peptides and you want to access all of my peptide content, like what it does for endometriosis or anything like that, you can go in there and then there is the community dashboard or discussion board, I should say, where women are asking very specific questions. So if you want to join our online community, you can do that. And I would absolutely love to have you as well. Okay, guys, let's get started. This is a big episode. I say that every single time, but there is so much to get into here. So, sleep is something that is so crucial to our health. Okay. It cannot be understated how important it is. And so we need to dive into not only how do we sleep for longer, but how do we actually increase the quality of sleep while we do get the hours that we get. So, especially if you are a mother and you have kids in your bed, or you're waking up for a baby or a toddler, or you have a dog in your bed, or a partner that snores, or a loud neighbor, like there's all of these disruptions that we can have. So, knowing that sometimes in our environment, there are things that we cannot control when it comes to our sleep. What are the things that we can control? What are the things that we can adjust in order to sleep better? And that is what we are going to dive into right now. We're not going to fixate on the number of hours, right? Like, I'm not going to say, oh, get 7.5 and 8.5. And if you don't, like, it's terrible. It's about the quality and not necessarily just the quantity. You are not broken. A broken sleep is a physiological problem. It is not a willpower problem. It's not a problem with you like not wanting to sleep more. Often it's a problem with something physiologically going on with you or environmentally. And so there's this stat that I found, and this one has to do with mothers. It says new mothers average 6.7 hours of sleep, but only about 3.2 hours of it is unbroken. And that is really hard. So that fragmentation, that waking up is what makes you feel tired, exhausted, like you didn't really get much sleep at all. And I have been there many, many times. We, with mothers in general, or any disturbances, it's hard because, and I'm going to talk about this in a second, it's not just about, oh, I woke up to feed the baby or move the dog or because of a neighbor. Like, it actually comes down to when I go back to sleep, how quickly can I get back to sleep? Something else I'm also going to bring up throughout this episode is the natural waking up that can happen. And this happens a lot with women. Whether you are perimenopausal or menopausal or not, there are a lot of women out there who actually wake up at the same time every single night. 3 a.m., 2 a.m., why is that happening? And we're going to talk about exactly that. And this used to be me, okay, until I fixed it. I was waking up at the same time every single night, and it was always around 2:30, 3 a.m. for like a very long time in my life until I fixed it. So we're going to talk about that as well. What I think is so interesting here, I'm just trying to find this in my notes. When we talk about why you wake up, right? Why you wake up at that certain time. First of all, I want to talk about the Chinese organ clock. So in Chinese medicine, there is something called the organ clock. And basically the way that this works is every hour of the day is associated with different organs. And so when you wake up at night, the time that you wake up is a signal of what organ has imbalance in it currently. So I'm just going to read some of these to you because this is what we see very typical in sleep patterns. So if you wake up between 11 p.m. and 11 and 1 a.m., this is a sign that you are past your window. You are past your sleep window. If you wake up between 1 and 3 a.m., this can be related to a heavy meal, alcohol, or a full mental load. And if you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., it's actually tied to stress and grief. Okay, and so to give you actually the specific organs that are involved here, like I said, so if you wake up between 11 and 1 a.m., this has to do with your gallbladder. This is when you release bile. There's a lot of cellular repair that happens here. This is where you build blood cells. If you wake up between 1 and 3, which is most women that I've talked to, this has to do with deep sleep, detoxifying blood, rest and recovery and planning. And this is the liver. And then 3 and 5 is actually the lung. And this is associated again with deep sleep, dreams, and memory. We get more into REM sleep in this time and detoxifying the lungs. So I love this because I just find it very interesting knowing that there can be way more that's happening than what we realize. And I am going to talk about my personal fix when I was constantly waking up at 3 a.m. myself. What we need to look at here in general for those before we get into all these recommendations is the whole architecture of sleep in general. The first half of our sleep is usually deeper than the second half. The second half is lighter. The second half is where we have more REM sleep. We dream way more. So that's why when you wake up during those hours or you wake up in the morning, you often remember your dreams is because you were just in a heavy REM cycle during the second half. Deep sleep is often in the first half, and it is really associated with recovery and repair and cellular turnover. What also happens here is the cortisol situation. So your wake hormone, when you wake up in the morning, is the cortisol spike. And so what you want, what this kind of looks like is you wake up around, let's say 6 a.m., your cortisol spikes within those first couple of hours, and then it drops and goes slow and slow and lower and lower and lower as the day goes on. And by the time you go to sleep, your cortisol is low, you're rested, you're calm, you're ready for bed. That is what we want. Sometimes what we see is if you're waking up around 5 a.m., 4 a.m., that is a cortisol spike that is happening a little earlier and maybe too earlier. And the fix there, which I'll get into in a second, is actually adjusting your windows of when you're going to sleep and creating a very solid bedtime and wake up time every single day. The next point about this, in terms of just about what we're talking about right now, of when you wake up in the middle of the night, is your blood sugar. So what happens here is if you have a late night meal, if you have a midnight snack, if you have alcohol before bed, what can really happen is you have high blood sugar going to bed and then you fall asleep. And while you're sleeping, it dips, and that real surge is what wakes you up. So low blood sugar around 3 a.m. sets off a stress surge, and that surge is what wakes you up because your body is saying, oh, your blood sugar has dropped. And I'm going to talk about this more, but this was the game changer for me, was realizing I was having a blood sugar drop, and that is what was waking me up. So what good sleep actually looks like for a woman and how to track it. So I literally just ordered my new Oura Ring, okay? I have had an Oura Ring for 6 years, and I have had the Generation 3 one for 5 years, or something like that. Maybe I've had it for 7 years. Anyway, I've had the Gen 3 since 2021, which is hard to believe. And I just ordered the Gen 5, and man, do I need it. My current Oura Ring is terrible, and the charging on it sucks. And when I was going through all this sleep data, and I was like, man, it's time for me to get a new ring. I need to look at this. Because when you have the data, it actually is very helpful to understand what's going on. So deep sleep, remember what I said, like deep sleep is the first half of your cycle, of your sleep cycle. You want it to be about 13 to 23%. Dream sleep or rapid eye movement, REM sleep, you want 20 to 25%. And obviously the total is between 7 to 9 hours. Efficiency above 85% and asleep within 20 minutes. Now, asleep within 20 minutes is very interesting. This is also known as latency, and this is what Oura Ring calls it on their app, is latency. You want this to be lower than 20 minutes, yes, but you also don't want it to be too soon. Sometimes with sleep, if you fall asleep quickly, too quickly, let's say under, I think it's like 9 minutes, that shows that your body is not recovering. Like you need more sleep than you're getting. You need more healing, rest, recovery. And when you fall asleep that quickly, it could be a sign of you're exercising a lot, you're doing a lot of movement, you're going through a really stressful time in your life with your work or your family or finances, whatever it is. And so the sweet spot is like, if I remember, I think it's 11 to 15 minutes. It's like this sweet spot of where you can fall asleep and want to fall asleep within. Your deep sleep as a woman and heart rate variability actually dip in the luteal phase. And that is the week before your period when your temperature rises. So you can track both of these. Oura Ring, you can track your temperature as well. I use the Natural Cycles app. That's my birth control right now. I'm not looking to get pregnant. So that is how I'm using that app, and I track my temperature. In your luteal phase, the second half of your cycle, after you've ovulated before your period, your heart rate variability goes down, which is so interesting. And so does your deep sleep. Okay. And then it goes back up for the first half of your cycle. So the point of this is like information is power. Understanding this, understanding your menstrual cycle and your sleep cycle allows you to tweak things in your life, tweak your peptide stack, and be able to actually sleep better, even if the amount of time that you can get actually can't be extended right now. Look at your numbers, like fix your numbers, optimize for your numbers, nobody else's, right? Like everything here is also needs to be personalized and applicable for women, as always. Okay, let's look at the hormones that are involved in this. So, melatonin, I think everyone knows what melatonin is here. Melatonin is the sleep hormone, and it is not a sedative, it is a timing signal. What's so interesting here is that I honestly haven't taken melatonin in so long, and I really never recommend it to people because I think there's such better ways to get better sleep now. But your body only makes about zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.9 milligrams a night of melatonin. That's wild. It's wild because you'll see supplement bottles that will say like 5 milligrams, and that is a lot. Right? That is so much. And so there was actually this study done that showed that zero point 0.3 milligrams of melatonin restored sleep just the same as 3 milligrams. And above 6 milligrams was no better than the placebo in this trial. Now, obviously, this was across 19 trials, 1,600 people, and it cut time to fall asleep by 7 minutes. And it added a total amount of sleep time of 8 minutes. So that's really not that much. For women, it runs up to 4 times higher in your luteal phase and interacts with your reproductive hormones, mostly your progesterone, during the second half of your phase. So my recommendation here, and I'm going to talk about supplements in a second, is really not to dive deep into melatonin. I think that there's more effective things that you can do. And there is a grogginess that can come from taking melatonin. I have taken it, and the next morning you feel sleepy and lazy and unmotivated, and I can't have that in my life. When you're running a business and a family, like so many women listening to this, you can't afford to feel groggy when you wake up in the morning. Okay, so skip the melatonin. There are a lot better other things that you can do. In terms of hormones, the cascade here, the chemistry that actually what happens is tryptophan, and everyone kind of knows tryptophan from turkey and Thanksgiving. Tryptophan becomes 5-HTP, which then becomes serotonin, which then becomes melatonin. And that is why if you look at a supplement bottle of 5-HTP, usually the benefits, it'll say boosts mood and increases sleep or improves sleep outcomes. It's because of this cascade. It goes into both, right? So it goes into the serotonin pathway, and then that goes into the melatonin pathway. I have taken 5-HTP. I have definitely noticed a improvement in my mood and sleep with it, but I still don't pull on it as often anymore because I just don't think that it's super helpful, to be honest. Like I haven't ever continuously stayed on it because I've never wanted the effects on my hormones for that long. And I just never found that like it really made that much of a difference. However, I would pick 5-HTP over melatonin if you were going to do one or the other. The last step, what's interesting here, when you're converting serotonin to melatonin, you actually can increase that by darkness, like no blue light, which I'm going to talk about. No blue light, right? Like being in a dark room or using red lights only, no bright lights, no phone, and vitamin B6. So those, for whatever reason, as a cofactor, vitamin B6 is in there, can really help. There are also other hormones that are released while you sleep. So there's GABA, and GABA is the brake, and this is your main calming signal. There is serotonin, and this is the mood and nighttime fuel built by light and protein. There's dopamine, which is kind of like the gas, and this is spiked by screens when it should be low. So, dopamine is the dopamine hit we get when we scroll on Instagram, when we shop online, when we buy something, when we, I don't know, a sale comes through, anything like that. That's dopamine. Cortisol is the alarm. We talked about this, and it can misfire too early in the morning, especially if you're depleted. And then oxytocin is the calm and connect, and it's raised by touch, a warm bath, and feeding. So, oxytocin is what is released when you're breastfeeding. That's what feels good between you and your baby. So, the whole game, this all kind of happens at night, and GABA and oxytocin are up while you sleep, and then dopamine and cortisol come down. Okay, so now that we've kind of gone through the hormones, waking up, melatonin, how does that fit? Let's actually get into some of the recommendations. And we, of course, are going to start with nutrition. I am a registered holistic nutritionist, and I've been for a long time. And so this is kind of my bread and butter, for the lack of a better pun. The first and foremost one that has moved the needle the most for me is protein before bed. So I started getting really deep into the protein world probably, I don't know, 5 months ago or so. And I started really looking at how much protein I was eating. And I realized that I was not eating enough protein. And I was doing like a dinner and then a little bit of a snack before bed. And the snack before bed would kind of change, but maybe like a small bowl of cereal. And the cereal would be whatever healthy cereal you think you can get with some like almond milk or coconut milk. Okay. And that's like what I was doing. And when I started looking at protein, I was like, oh man, I really need to be adding more scoops of protein in. Where can I add more scoops of protein powder into my day? Because I'm feeling like even with my diet, I'm not getting enough through food only. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to switch up the cereal. I'm going to change the milk for yogurt, either goat yogurt or coconut yogurt. I don't do well with dairy, so that's why. And I'm going to add a scoop of protein powder into this little snack that I have before bed. So then it switched to yogurt, protein powder, and a little bit of cereal or granola in there. I cannot tell you how fast I started sleeping through the night. So what I realized is that I was having this little snack, and I'm kid you not, like it was small. It's not a full big bowl of cereal. It's small. After my dinner, let's say I would eat it around, put my kid to bed, eat it around 8 p.m. And my blood sugar would go up and drop, and I would wake up at 2:30, 3 a.m., 2:15 every single night. Every single night, whether my kid was in my bed or not. And this was the case actually during pregnancy. This was the case before I was pregnant. This was happening for years for me, like years. I'm not saying that this is something new. No. Years. So I add this protein in, and like literally magic, I just slept through the night. No waking up at all. And in preparing for this episode, right, we're back in Canada, and I'm talking about it because when I realized that whole protein thing, I was in Mexico. And or was that Costa Rica? I actually think it was Costa Rica. And then Mexico. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm back in Canada and I start doing the cereal again. And then I'm preparing for this episode this week. And I'm like, dang it. This is why I'm waking up. Why did I go back to it? So I said, okay, here's the experiment before I record the episode. The last few nights, I swapped it again. Yogurt, protein powder, a little bit of granola. And boom, I have not woken up, you guys. I kid you not. And this is so fascinating. And I also feel dumb for going back to how I was eating before. Protein, and it's not me making this up, right? Protein steadies blood sugar any time of the day. Any time of the day. If you add protein and then also fat from yogurt as well, but if you add that protein, it steadies blood sugar through the hours, through the small early hours of the night. And it takes away the fuel from the 3 a.m. surge that I was still feeling. So when you add protein and fat to a meal, instead of the quick spike of blood sugar that you might get, it like slows it down. It makes the spike less tall, for lack of a better word, or high. And it also makes it like over time, like slower over time. So you feel fuller for longer when you add protein and fat to any type of meal. So now I do this. So I try to aim for a scoop, maybe even 2 scoops. So let's say that's between 20 to 40 grams of extra protein before I go to bed. And it's made the world of a difference. So if you are listening to me and you're listening to this episode, if you take one thing away from what I'm saying right now, add protein before bed. If you're waking up, if you are waking up between 2 and 4 a.m., add protein before bed and literally just see what happens because it's the best hack. I wish I had known about it years ago. Okay, other nutrition things you can do. So, some things that have been proven, some foods that have actually been proven to help. Cherries, tart cherry. So, this is one of the few natural food sources of melatonin. 7 days on cherries before bed raises melatonin and improves sleep duration and efficiency. It also makes you have crazy dreams. I remember I ate a bag of cherries before bed a few years ago and I had wild dreams and nightmares that night. So just know that if you are susceptible to dreams, that can definitely happen. Kiwis, actually, so 2 kiwis an hour before bed for 4 weeks help people fall asleep faster, wake less, and sleep longer. And then, of course, the magnesium-rich foods. We love magnesium. Pumpkin seeds, leafy greens, dark chocolate all feed the calming system. Magnesium is involved in over 600 processes in the body. If you are not taking magnesium as a supplement right now, you need to ASAP or try get it through your foods. I do both because I just want to make sure I'm covered. The other thing that we do want to mention here is the caffeine, right? So cutting down your caffeine really does matter. Caffeine should be done by noon. It has a half-life of about 5 hours. So what that means is that a 2 p.m. coffee actually leaves about a third of its caffeine in you, still running through your blood, running through your entire system by the time that you go to bed. So 2 p.m. is too late. Today I cut off at 11 a.m. because I'm testing to see if 11 is better for me than 12. And cap alcohol, which shatters the second half of the night. If you wake hungry, reach for protein and not carbs. I very much don't think that alcohol should be something that we consume as often as we do. Let me see. Oh, I'm at 996 days, okay, guys, of being sober. So I have an app that tracks it. I remember, speaking of Oura Ring, when I got my Oura Ring, I was, oh my gosh, I don't know how old I was. It doesn't really matter, whatever, 6 years ago. And I was drinking alcohol at that point. And it was actually getting the Oura Ring that made me realize how detrimental alcohol was to my health. I was shocked to see my heart rate overnight and my HRV plummet while drinking alcohol. The impact on my sleep and seeing that data was actually the awakening that I needed, that hey, I don't think alcohol has a place in my life anymore. And it took me a long time to become 100% sober, a long time. I started with months and then I started doing 75 hard multiple times. And then I started my fertility journey. And basically at that point, I cut it out. So those caffeine and alcohol really do wreck your sleep. They really, really do wreck your sleep. Okay. Lifestyle and biohacking. So the thing that I love about lifestyle for this is I really want you to have a bedtime. Like you're a kid. I want you to have a bedtime. Pick what time, 9:30, 10:30. You need to have a bedtime. The same time, 7 days a week. Now, that means the same bedtime, even on weekends, if you're going out and doing other things. This is one reset that literally everything hangs on. The more regulated you can get your sleep window and when you go to sleep, the more regulated your hormones are. The better you're going to feel, the easier it's going to be for you to fall asleep and stay asleep because your body knows what's coming. So, reality check here. If you're a mom and you're putting your kids to sleep, and say your last kid, baby, sleeps at 9 p.m., like they're staying awake, and you're like, oh my gosh, this kid won't sleep. So you put the kid down, the kid falls asleep at 9 p.m. If your bedtime is at 9 p.m. or 9:30, you're still going to bed at 9 or 9:30. If your kid falls asleep at 8, you're still going to bed at 9 or 9:30. Okay. And it's trying to really keep that. So, yes, that might mean less time on your phone before bed, less time to watch TV, less time with your partner, less time to clean the house, whatever you're doing at night. But the reality is creating this wake up time and sleep time is so important. And it is so easy, but it is also easy to like dismiss. Please consider having a full bedtime and wind down as well. So the other lifestyle recommendation here is having that wind down, right? Like, okay, my kid fell asleep at 9. I'm going to have my bedtime at 9:30. Right now, I only have half an hour. What can I do? A warm bath is great. And it's actually been shown that a warm bath about 90 minutes before bed helps you fall asleep roughly 10 minutes faster. So if you're one of the women listening to this who you don't struggle with waking up, but you struggle with going to sleep, try having a warm bath. And that is because what happens in a warm bath is obviously you're hot, you come out, that drop in temperature of your core body temperature now becoming cooler is what signals to the body that it's time to sleep. So it's not the bath itself, it's actually afterwards, the drop. And that's why bathing kids before bed is so helpful and useful for their sleep. It is the exact same thing for kids. The drop in temperature tells the little kid, tells their body, tells their brain, okay, it's time for sleep. I'm a big believer in bath time before bed. Absolutely. I think most parents are. And even like I like to shower before bed. My husband likes to shower in the morning. I'm not a morning shower person. I'm a nighttime bath girly. And this is exactly why. It winds me down. I also like to just like wash off the day. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like if I stand in the shower on the bath, I'm just like, wow, get this off of me. I want to feel better. And that is really what helps me. So try the warm bath as part of your wind down. And then the evening light. This is really, really important. Any type of blue light really suppresses your melatonin release happening in your body. And the blue light can come from the TV, your phone, the lights in your room, the lights in the ceiling. And so screens really need to be monitored, not moderated, monitored before you go to bed. Screens out an hour before bed is huge. Or even putting on blue blockers after the sun goes down is also helpful. I love to read before bed. I don't read on a screen. I don't care what you say or what people say about the tablets and the lack of the blue light. No, I don't do that. I like to hold a physical book. I don't want to hold anything that's charged. I don't want the EMF from that. I literally just hold a book and I read. I have blue blockers. I'll talk about them in a second. And reading on a screen cut melatonin by more than 55% and push the whole rhythm about 1.5 hours later. Reading on a screen as in scrolling on your phone. So cut the phone before bed. In terms of environment, you want your room really dark, like a cave, dark, cold, about 18 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. We keep our house at 69, 70 degrees Fahrenheit and every single light blocked. So we have like light blackout shades and curtains. We have both. So it covers all the little crevices where the light can come through. In Canada, especially where we are, the sun will stay up until 10 p.m. right now. And it's very late. So that is something that I would really, really think about getting if you're dealing with that. And then the morning light, right? The other side of that is waking up. What do you do within the first 10 minutes? What do? I wake up, I take my temperature, I get out of bed, and I open up the blinds in my bathroom when I'm in my bathroom. Right away, I'm getting the sun, I'm getting the light, and I'm telling my body it is morning. It's time to produce cortisol. It's time to get all the good hormones going, increase testosterone, like, right? And let's suppress melatonin because it's not time for melatonin right now. So the way that you anchor your entire night, regardless of how many times you're waking up for a kid or for your spouse or a dog, whatever it is, can have a huge impact on the quality of your sleep. Next up is supplements. And I already talked about magnesium, but magnesium is so important for this, and especially magnesium glycinate. This quiets the excitatory glutamate system and supports your calming GABA hormone. Take it every night. I take two before bed. I have the We Natal brand that I love, but I also love Bioptimizers. Their formulation has 7 different types of magnesium in it, 500 milligrams of elemental magnesium, which is huge and is really great. I've been taking it for years. My discount code is biohacking Brittany, and you guys can definitely use that if you want it. Glycine can also help. So about 3 grams before bed helped people fall asleep faster and reach deep sleep sooner. And this was by lowering their core body temperature. You can try L-theanine. This raises GABA and alpha brain waves for more calm without sedation. And then you can do something herbal as well. Like you could do chamomile. And chamomile has a compound in it called, I think I might botch this, but I think it's like apiginin. Is that right? And anyway, this is the compound in chamomile that helps you to like be calm and actually binds to the same calming GABA receptors. That's why so many calming teas or sleepy teas will include chamomile. Peptides. Okay, let's get into peptides. I want to really, really get into this because so many of you talk to me about peptides every single day. So first of all, peptides, most of this research was done on male animals and species. We know that not a lot was done on females, not a lot has been done on humans. And so that is obvious. Okay. Regardless, the first peptide that is the best for sleep that people have taken is DSIP. This stands for delta sleep inducing peptide. This is the peptide that calms the stress axis, lowers cortisol, and actually deepens slow wave sleep, the stage when growth hormone peaks. It's not a sedative, and it is a more of a reset. I have taken this. My mom is taking it right now, and I have noticed an effect. What I will say if you're taking DSIP right now is that I think you need a few weeks to actually notice a difference. At least I did. And you don't want to take it every single day. So I did Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Some people do Monday to Friday. They take the weekend off or they take it twice a week. Just know that it's not something you want to do every single day for the rest of your life. Absolutely not. I did it 3 times a week and then I came off of it after about 6 weeks. Some people will stay on it for a few months, but you do need to take a break at one point. I would start low. I think I was started with 100 micrograms. I think that's the base amount that you can start with. You can always go up and titrate up. But my recommendation, honestly, with peptides always is like start at the lowest amount and see if you get results and see how you feel. You could always add more, right? Like you can always say, I don't think this DSIP is doing enough for me. Let me increase my dose. And 3 weeks later, maybe you increase it to 200. That's a much easier thing to track than bringing it down and then being confused about it or going up even higher. Start small. And with DSIP, you do want to take it before bed. I think it's within like an hour or so before you go to bed. The next peptide that helps here is Epitalon, and this is one of the ones that people know for longevity. This is a pineal peptide that rebuilds your own melatonin rhythm. And it also helps to repair the telomeres and lengthen the telomeres, which is like the cell's repair clock. What I like about Epitalon is that Epithalon, it's something that you take once or twice a year. The younger you are, arguably you only need it once a year. And it's for 10 to 20 days, either 5 to 10 milligrams per day at night. So it's very short-lived. It's actually a bioregulator, which is like a very specific class of peptides, you could say. And you only need it, like I said, once or twice a year. I have not taken this yet. This will probably be in my stack for the fall. I'm taking so many other things right now, and I don't want to overload my system. And also my sleep is actually going really well, so I don't feel like I need this. If you are older, if you are postmenopausal, I would definitely take this as well for the longevity and the aging benefits. I don't think you should take DSIP and Epitalon at the same time. The reason is if you're taking both of them for sleep, how are you going to know which one works and which one doesn't if you take both of them at the same time? So choose one, stick to it, and see how it goes. The next one would be Selank. And if you've been listening to this show, you know that this is my favorite peptide. And this is the peptide that is amazing for anxiety and stress. And maybe that should be my next episode, actually. It should be on stress. And it is so calming and grounding without it making you feel like you're sedated or you're dependent on it. It's actually in trials been shown to be more effective or just as effective as benzodiazepam. Am I saying that correctly? And this is one of the anxiety lowering pharmaceuticals. I love this. I notice a huge difference on Selank. I take it in the morning with C-Max because C-Max is more of a nootropic and really helps with concentration and memory recall and helps with brain functioning and cognitive functioning in general. So taking them together has like a synergistic effect. Selank raises GABA. And remember when we talked about GABA, the GABA hormone makes you feel calm, makes you feel grounded, and it steadies this serotonin and dopamine. It protects your own calming peptides from breaking down. This is my favorite. This is for you if you have the wired but tired mind. If you're waking up and you're thinking of like everything you need to do the next day, or you're thinking about your to-do list, this is for you. Or if you are postpartum. So Selank is so interesting because you can actually get the nasal version. So you can get a nasal spray or a nasal drop. I would say honestly, the spray is easier than the drop. I've done both. And what I like about this is it goes through the nasal cavity and it can cross the blood-brain barrier. And there are studies that have shown this is effective. They are Russian-based studies. And same with C-Max, it also has been shown as well. You can get the dropper and the spray nasal spray bottle for C-Max as well. What I like about this for postpartum is that if you are still breastfeeding and you feel like you need something, this is arguably, theoretically, a better option than taking something subcutaneously because subcutaneously is more systemic of an effect and could theoretically have a higher chance of entering breast milk. Now, 5 million disclaimers, okay? We have no evidence on peptides going into breast milk, whether they are harmful or helpful, and we will never have evidence on that. Who would ever run a clinical trial looking at that? There's no money in that. So whenever I talk to women who are postpartum and who are breastfeeding, we have the same conversation. And I tell them all of that. There's no data, there's no clinical evidence, there's nothing. You need to make the best choice for you. And you need to decide what's the best choice for you and your baby. And is it more important for you to feel less stressed and less anxiety and less overwhelmed than how you're feeling right now and take on the risk? I know mothers and clients I work with who are taking peptides and breastfeeding. I know clients who are microdosing psilocybin while breastfeeding. So don't think for a second that you are the only woman doing it because you are not. And if you want to talk to me personally about your personal situation, we can talk about it. But you have to know that the risk to benefit ratio is completely up to you. It's your body and it's your child, and you have to take liability for that. I always say this, looking back at my own postpartum experience and my own experience with breastfeeding, I would have taken Selank as a nasal spray, probably starting around 6 months postpartum, knowing the stress and anxiety and the intrusive thoughts that I went through and how my mental health struggled in my postpartum journey. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that, yeah, like I think it would have made a huge difference for my life. Every woman is different. This is educational, not medical advice, of course, and you need to make the best decision for you. Okay, next up, growth hormone peptides, Sermorelin and Ipamorelin. work with the deep sleep and growth hormone loop to deepen slow wave sleep. Growth hormone is pulsed, right? So it's pulsed and it's pulsed more and higher and more intensely at night. So we can work with that pulsatility with the growth hormone peptides like Sermorelin and Ipamorelin. More advanced, these require, or ideally you get some blood work like the IGF-1 lab so that you know what's going on with your growth hormone levels before you touch them and play around with them. If you are perimenopausal, if you're in your 40s and plus, honestly, the chances are your growth hormone could use some love and is already declining. And so you could probably take these without having to get the lab work done. However, the lab work is very interesting because if you do the labs and then start peptides and do your labs again, you can see actually what is making a difference. Okay, Fringe biohacks. A couple of these, actually, I've done all of these. So grounding and earthing, and you can get grounding and earthing sheets now, which is wild. These are literally exactly how they sound, right? So it's sleeping connected to the earth's electrical charge. Now, small studies have suggested that lower nighttime cortisol and a calmer nervous system can come from these. The evidence is honestly very thin, but the downside is low. I don't own any of these sheets. I would try them, but I've never gone out of my way to get them. And I don't think I ever would. I will say though, there is something to be said about when you're sleeping outdoors, like if you go camping and you're much closer to the earth and how much better you sleep. Is it because it's darker? Is it because it's colder or the fresh air? There's so many things that are happening there, but grounding is definitely one of them. You can also look at the vagus nerve. And so the vagus nerve is basically like here, it's like your throat. And you can do long exhales, long when you do your breath work, or a gentle vibration wearable can help. The one that I have is the Pulsetto. And so this wraps around your neck if you're watching on video, wraps around your neck and sits on your throat, and it vibrates. And this really helps to tone your vagus nerve and calm you down. And now, if you're listening to this and you're like, what are you talking about? I will say it actually does work. Like I do feel more regulated after I use my Pulsetto or I hum or sing or have a gentle vibration on my vagus nerve. Evidence is still early here. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence. However, I personally do find it works. You can look into mouth taping. This is so funny. There's all the social media craze about it. I've done this and honestly, it can help. The evidence again is weak a little bit here, but if you clearly breathe through your mouth, like you wake up and your mouth is like crusty or your breath smells really bad or there's drool on your pillow, it could be really helpful for teaching you how to breathe through your nose. Other things as well that can be helpful here is red light therapy, red and near infrared light at nighttime. So I have red lights all over my room. I have blue blocking glasses and I love my blue blocking glasses. The brand that I use is Filter Optics. It's my favorite. I have a discount code biohacking Brittany. You guys can try it. Try them out. These are the highest quality blue blocking glasses I've ever used. Like they are so nice. They're designed in Europe. They're not flimsy. They're not ugly. They're really, really cool. And I love them. And if you're ever going to buy a pair, ever, don't buy the crap that's on Amazon that's cheap. Buy Filter Optics because they are beautifully designed and they're so nice. They make you feel really good when you're going to bed when you're wearing them. I also have the yellow version, which I can wear while I'm working on my computer. That can help as well. If you're looking at a sleep mattress cover or sleep mattress that is temperature controlled, the one that I have is called 8 Sleep. Now, this is like a catch-22. So yes, it can cool down the bed and it can make it go warmer. And if you have someone else sleeping in your bed, they can have their own temperatures. So it's really great if you're dealing with hot sweats or menopausal hormonal dysregulation that's causing you to go up and down all night. However, I just worry about the EMF with these and the radiation. And when I reached out to 8 Sleep and I talked to them about this, they told me that most of the EMF comes from the tower that it's connected to by the wires. But the reality is like you can't move that tower that far away from your bed because the wiring to the mattress cover is not very long. So then I just think about all of the EMF that I'm sleeping on. So what do I say? I have one. Yes, I use it sometimes, not all the time. Do you need one? I would only really get one if like hot flashes are something that's keeping you up at night or hot sweats. I would say like that helping you to sleep better probably outweighs the negative effects of the EMF on it. So I hope this was helpful. Like this was so much information and I feel like I could go on, but protecting your sleep is the foundation for women. It is so important, even if you can't actually get 9 hours, if you can get 5 hours, how do we get you to sleep as many minutes possible during that 5 hours, improving the quality, right? And so that starts with having a bedtime routine, having a sleepy environment, having a morning routine when you wake up, getting light into your eyes. That means protein before bed, magnesium before bed, trying some of these peptides. Like there's so many different levers you can pull on here that can really, really help. You need to be getting as much sleep as possible for recovery, for aging, for longevity, for your hormones, for fertility, on and on and on. Like the benefits continue. So if you're going to do one thing, I would pick what stood out to you the most out of this episode. Maybe it's like moving your caffeine to be before noon. Maybe it's the blue blocking glasses. Maybe it's magnesium. Maybe it's protein or one of the peptides like Selank. Pick one and start there. I think that will be the most helpful for you. And track, right? Think about getting an Oura Ring or a Garmin watch. Oura is actually designed to focus on sleep. Garmin or Apple is more about activity during the day. So it makes sense to get a ring instead. And really just stick with it and stick with it for a couple of weeks and see how you feel. You are not failing at sleep if you're listening to this. Your body is doing exactly what a depleted, over-asked system does, which so many women, so many of us feel. Every piece of it responds to all of these inputs, right? And so it's just learning about what inputs matter the most for you and your physiology. If you have questions, and send me a message on Instagram at biohackingbrittany or email me info@biohackingbrittany.com. I'd love to chat. And of course, if you want to work together or just hop on a free call with me, you're always welcome. I would love to talk with you. All right, everybody, thank you for listening. I will catch you next week for another episode. I am so excited to continue this Her Stack series as we dive into these topics and I'm able to really give you a full holistic approach. If you have any suggestions, I'm also open for that and I'm always here cheering you on. Keep going and I will chat with you soon.